Hello to my first ever VR, and it took the Deck Crush challenge or hashtag or whatever it's called on here for me to get my bum into gear and do this. And actually it took a nudge. It took a nudge from probably the only person that's watching this, which is you, Martin. Hello, my friend. So see, I finally did. I semi got my arse into gear here because I'm only doing part of the VR. There were just a few prompts that I thought, yeah, I can think of decks that immediately come to mind for this. But I thought something's better than nothing, eh? So let's get on with it, shall we? So I have, first of all, Friends with Benefits, which is a deck I love and care about, sometimes get incredibly passionate for. If I could talk. See, I'm that passionate, I can't even talk properly. This one is The Wild Unknown. I don't have the full version of this deck. I bought this one because I wasn't really sure how I would get on with this deck. So I thought, oh, it was cheap and cheerful for about 10 quid off Amazon. So I thought I'd dive into it. And you know what? It was actually friggin' amazing. It could have actually fallen under a different prompt, but I loved it so much. It's so cute in this dinky little case. Perfectly great to carry around in a bag or whatever. I don't do that. I've just got it sort of on my desk near me to pop into, you know, and use during the day. But I've popped it under Friends with Benefits because occasionally I use it a lot and I really get into it, and then sometimes, as at the moment, it's kind of just sitting there. But you know what, it gets me. I get it. It understands. It's not something that I'm going to use every single day. I use it every now and then when the mood takes me, which I thought fitted the bill quite perfectly. So that's that one. Love at First Sight, the deck that I saw and immediately thought, love this, gotta have it. You might get a clue from this on the top. It's the Hayworth Tarot, which actually comes in this bag, which is a little bit tight. And if you're of a sensitive disposition, you might want to look away. I think some people get a bit, a little bit spooked or grossed out by some of the images on these cards because it is a little bit graphic. It's based on a podcast which I've tried to listen to and never really got into, might get into again at some point, set in a fictional town where strange things happen. And by strange, I mean incredibly strange. But I loved it from the off. Anything this weird or off the wall is completely attractive to me. And it just, there you go. Got intestines for a face or something, whatever, Knight of Swords there. It's just, it's me. You know, who's seen a sun card like this? Look at that. Look at the state of that sun. It's absolutely amazing. It's very dark. It's very twisted, but it's absolutely amazing. Absolutely love it. I find it absolutely wonderful to use when you know that you need to be told something and you need to be given to it straight, and you need to sort of slightly explore the darker side of something. Not necessarily just shadow work, but it will, you know, it will tell you stuff to your face. And this one is great. This Seven of Swords is amazing because, yeah, look, you got away with it. You've snuck away with something. You think you're winning, but look, you cut your hands off to get it. Was it worth it? Was it worth it? So, you know, it asks you these questions. Absolutely love it. And I probably won't. Oh, yeah, this is it. The one card that does me every time. Probably my favourite and most spooky Justice card ever. Absolutely love this card. As soon as I got the deck, I remember flicking through it. This was the one where I recoiled a bit. And I thought, oh my God, this is freaking me out. I hope that doesn't come up in a reading. What happened? First reading I did. There she was. The old lady with no face. Apart from a very large mouth and a knife in her hand coming to get you. But yeah, absolutely love it. Love at First Sight. Love it. Will always love it. Don't use it, you know, heavily, but it's there. I would never, never let go of this deck. Absolutely wonderful. And like I said, in a rather tight fitting bag, in it goes. There we go. Right, and I've like I said, skipped through a few of these prompts because I couldn't think of, nothing came to mind immediately, and I thought I'm not going to labour it. I don't have the time. Anyway, marriage material. The marigold, absolutely beautiful. I am somebody of Indian heritage. I have occasionally come across decks that have sort of Indian aspects to them, or maybe wholly Nothing until the point where I saw this really sort of struck a chord with me. I didn't really warm to anything that I'd come across, and so I wasn't really. I just thought, I'll probably have to create one. Not that I can draw or do anything, but there probably isn't anything out there that's sort of an Indian-ish theme that will work for me. Little did I know, not only was there a deck out there that had Indian heritage sort of as the basis, but it's actually Punjabi, inspired Punjabi creator called Amrit Brar, and it's just everything. This is perfect. This is another one that I would never ever lose, because she uses a lot of Punjabi imagery in this deck. I mean, the clothes, then there's no people, it's skeletons. The clothes they're wearing are very obviously Punjabi, and they have things that we use not just in the Punjab but in other parts of India, the different types of flowers, marigolds and other things that are just so absolutely perfect. I found that this has been an absolute winner when I'm doing ancestor work. I started looking at Nancy Hendrickson's ancestral tarot, or I think it's beginning of last year, maybe slightly later in the year prior to that, and it was an absolute revelation. But this deck, alongside one other, which was the Okash and Thorn, is absolutely amazing for me, for that sort of thing. If I put on the right sort of folk music in the back and get working with this, it's goosebumps. It's one of those decks, it gives me goosebumps when I'm working with it, because I just feel so connected to my ancestors through it. And these are ancestors who, beyond sort of a couple of generations, I don't have any names, I don't have any pictures, probably will never have any names, definitely won't have any pictures, because a lot of things just weren't written down where my family comes from. So this has been an amazing way to connect with them, and yeah, it's brilliant. Absolutely love this. So that is my marriage material. And then finally, my Happy Ever After deck, which won't be a surprise to anybody who's ever followed me on Instagram or knows me in person. My true love is the Cosmic Tarot. This is from the 80s. I think it was either late 70s or early 80s that this was originally published. My copy is from, I think, the mid 90s, which is when I started to get into tarot. Probably more like the 2000s when I first picked up a tarot deck, to be honest. And this is from there. It's a trimmed copy. I trimmed mine, and you can see it was slightly funky, and I hand trimmed it, so it's really clumsily done. But this is my absolute, if I had to burn all the rest of my decks that I own and just keep one, this would be the one that I keep. Everything else could go up in flames pretty much. And I wouldn't cry. Well, I would cry, but this one I cannot lose. This one has to be cremated with me when I go. Or actually, I'll probably hand it down to somebody, but you know what I mean. And it's just absolutely batshit crazy. I love this. It's so colourful. There are characters in here which look remarkably like slightly bad drawings of famous people. And when I say bad drawings, that's no shade on the person that's actually put it together. But it sort of looks like somebody, but kind of doesn't look like them, but sort of does. And I absolutely adore it. This is my favourite hermit card of all time. That is, if I was going to be a hermit, that is the sort of hermit I'd want to be. And the colours are gorgeous. And it's wonderful. It really is lovely. And I've used it, like I said, for almost 2 decades now. I have another copy of it that I bought recently just as a backup, which actually happens to be an older copy than the one I've got, if that makes any sense. It's actually one from the 80s, and it's got a slightly different font and so on, but that's just there as a backup. This one is my, ride or die thing. Look at that Hierophant, he's shooting light from his eyes. What more do you need? Somewhere in here, and I can't find it at the moment, is a card with flamingos on it. What more could you want? A deck with flamingos. It's really, really not psychedelic, but it's, it's of its time. It probably looks a bit dated to some people, but it's just bizarre, and I love it. Absolutely wonderful. So yeah, so that's my Happily Ever After Forever deck, and that's me done. Will there be another one of these? Who knows? I have absolutely no idea. We'll see how things go. But for anybody, Martin, who's watching this, I hope that was enjoyable. I certainly had fun popping it together in a few minutes, and yeah, I'll see you soon, or will I? Bye.